This is that 56 Harvard. It's all finished up pretty much. So the speaker is back from being reconed at Halford Loudspeakers, and Dave said the speaker that was in there had already been reconed once, probably some point in the 60s. I don't know how he determines that. He knows speakers like I know the rest of amps, so he knows all the esoterica, but it is all reconed with a new voice coil and sounding quite nice, which we'll get to hear in a bit. Other changes since last time, the green resistor has been changed out for this black, just because the green and the red wasn't as pretty. And yeah, that kind of stuff can matter for those of us who are finicky about such things. The last thing I had to do, there was a volt of DC present at the input, which made volume pots scratchy on guitars. So those three 68K resistors have been changed. Those are some new old stock carbon comps I had. Very nice quality. These were also changed, the 220Ks here. The rest of the resistors are stock. So just these mix resistors and the grid stoppers here at the input. I also added a 1 meg shunt across this input jack just because there was popping when you plugged and unplugged into that jack due to the nature of the original circuit. I don't think it changes the value of the amp. Once work is done, work is done. It's a better setup to have that 1 meg there. It doesn't change the behavior of the 3 jacks, but there's a reason Fender went to that in their later amps, and it makes a big difference just in terms of making sure your pickup isn't the entire path to ground for the grid of V1. Now, V1 in this amp uses a 6AT6, which is essentially one triode. It's like half of a 12AX7. Actually, it's one half of a 5751. It's got a gain factor nominally of about 70. The amp came with two 6AT6s and one 6AV6, which is the same tube, but more like having one triode of a 12AX7. Nominally has a gain factor of 100. So it had an RCA and a GE 6AT6 and a Sylvania 6AV6. The GE 6, I'm trying to remember, keep all this straight. The GE 6AT6 proved to be too noisy. It just was intermittent. Both the RCA and the Sylvania are fine after cleaning. It's got the RCA 6AT6 in there now. Sorry, it's a lot of stuff to keep track of. I found that the gain increase with the Sylvania 6AV6 was not that dramatic. So nominally 100, probably closer to maybe 85 versus 70 or so. I thought we'd at least start out with the amp as originally intended as far as gain goes. Later, when we do the playing video with the real mic, I'll show you the two different tubes. And I'm going to try to get a local ringer in here to do a proper demo of this amp for you. But it is sounding wonderful. I'll give you a little preview now with a 335. Just a really nice, balanced essence of guitar sound. And it does higher gain than that. You'll get to hear that when we do the real mic, because if we do it right now, this close to the speaker, it'll just spaz out the lav mic no matter where I set the pre on it. It's just one of those things. But it sure is pretty. Last thoughts. Of course, to take the speaker out, I had to desolder and then resolder properly the old cable, make sure the old cable was still good. And I cleaned all the contacts there. And I reflowed a few of the solder joints on V1 and V2 that were a little bit noisy when I went in there and prodded at it. All in all, this was a very simple undertaking. You know, you can see the previous videos for everything we did and why, but they're just wonderful amps to play, wonderful amps to work on, and it's almost a shame to see the rear cover go back on these because they're just so dang pretty.